I remember at the time we were servicing C2C. So for those of you who don't know, C2C, customer to customer, right? That's kind of like our business model. And then the more research we were doing, we realized that C2C margins is so thin.
Always so thin.
But when you're servicing business, the margin is much higher.
Yeah.
You don't get as many business, but once you land that one business,
It could take care of
it
it.
can float you.
There's still a lot of businesses out there that are like, I'm good, we making money. I'm like, when you're good, that's when you need to plan for.
That's when you need to be
That's right.
innovative.
You can still keep
Blockbuster.
the main thing,
You know?
thing, but you need to go ahead and shoot off an arm here.
Yeah.
If it falls off, you're good.
Let's deviate a little bit. This is what I tell people that come on board and when we interview and hire them. If this is not the right place for you, you will leave.
I've said
So
that too.
there's kind of like a culture, an atmosphere,
Right.
that's in our business that if you don't fit in, you'll kind of like just end up leaving.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
Hey, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is about business and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. My name is Kay.
I'm the fisherman, Alan.
Hey.
And I'm Tosin.
What's up? What are we talking about today, Tosin?
Fishing.
And today, you know what? There's this thing I've been talking to my team. I called it financial boldness, right? We're going through a few changes in the office, right? One of them is that I'm trying to push all of my team members, at least my managers and senior managers, to the forefront because all of them are like experienced people, extremely smart people. They're CPAs, EAs, folks with MBAs, whatever. They've got all this brilliant ideas, but I think mainly in the CPA industry, it's like, I want to talk to the CPA. Well, you know what?
Everyone's
XYZ is a CPA also.
Yeah.
Why do you just need to talk to me? I mean, that person probably has a different perspective that they can bring to the table and help you a little bit better than I can. Right? So that's what we've been doing. However, that shift is not going to, or at least I'm assuming, is not always going to be 100% received well by all clients.
Yeah.
Because they're used to it.
It could be the relationship that they've built.
Correct.
Right.
And the comfort.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got my cell phone. You can call me. You can text me. You can blast me. But now anytime you call me, I'm like, hey, did you reach out to XYZ manager? It starts becoming a little weird. But if a lot of clients, don't roll with that with us, then there's a possibility that we can lose revenue.
Well, let's start with this. What is financial boldness? How do we define financial boldness?
Financial boldness is going to be, at least the way I was presenting it, is going to be the boldness to be able to make a change that may cost you revenue.
Okay. So when I think about financial boldness, right, it's not recklessness. It's taking strategic risk, right?
Yeah.
So meaning that sometimes you're going to have to get comfortable losing money in the immediate, so that you can make more money in the future, right? Are we in agreement with that?
I'm in agreement, but it's easier said than done.
Okay. So let me give you an example, right? Let's look at Netflix, right? Netflix, when they first came out, you guys know the business model, right?
Yes.
It was
Mailing,
rental DVDs by mail. And they were doing so well, right? Obviously, the biggest competitor was Blockbuster at the time, right? But in their mind, they knew that wasn't sustainable, right? They knew that eventually they're going to have to pivot, right? And what was the biggest strategic risk that they took? They decided to pivot into streaming. And at the time when they pivoted into streaming, internet was slow.
Yeah.
So it was like, is this really going to work? But you know what they did? They had to invest a lot of money in their tech and into their infrastructure, right? So not only did a lot of people, got fired, but they had to hire a whole new loads of people, right? And at that time, you've already done your research because you're banking on the fact that internet, speed is going to be the future, right? To me, I look at that as financial boldness. Like, look, you've identified like, hey, this is what the future looks like. And now you are strategically making the move by, putting your money towards that plan to make sure that that pivot is successful.
Now, yeah, I can see where you're coming from making that case for financial boldness. However, Netflix had a lot of investors.
I was gonna say,
they got money to be able to make those type of shots.
Because remember, they included Netflix with everything, TVs, Roku. They had so many deals that it was like, it was in your face so much and ubiquitous to where they're like, they went with the Amazon model, right?
Okay.
Just eat an L if we need to because we got money behind us.
That's correct.
And then if the money don't work, then we're shooting for the moon. We're trying to go home, own the market or not.
Lose.
Right.
You know?
And so, you eat an L for so long, and then eventually you'll become the market.
Yes.
And then everyone copied them. So they were the first in the whole market. Even today, they have a huge market share in streaming,
So now the real financial boldness I'm talking about is for probably most business out there.
Okay.
Right. Even if you're running off of your line of credit or you've got some kind of business loan and all that stuff, these calls that you will make actually, let me back up a little bit.
Back up, my friend. Back up.
Most businesses every single 2 weeks have an issue.
Payroll.
Every 2 weeks. They
gotta pay. Payroll.
And now you're telling them to make something that may affect every 2 weeks. That
and every other 2 weeks,
but
is
gotta
rent and business and all the
you know
other
what I mean?
monthly
Like there's like most businesses don't just have like a stockpile of cash.
Yeah,
most business owners don't.
Yeah.
Your business is like living paycheck to paycheck, so to speak.
I think you have to have, you do have to have so maybe take away from his example without taking into consideration the example. His example is that before you make the financial boldness, kind of like investing in the stock market, it's got to be well vetted.
Yes.
You still have a chance of failing.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure if you fail, it's not the thing that completely upends your business.
Yes.
So it can be a stutter step or a fall, but you're not falling on your face.
Yeah.
Right? A fall to where you fall on your knees and can get back up.
Yeah.
Not to where you're knocked out unconscious in the ICU.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he was trying to get at
I see.
with that in the sense that like, okay, I have 3 to 6 months of reserve capital now. Whatever the plan might be. You're in growth phase, so you're saying, ooh.
Yeah.
But that's because you had that at some point to be able to make this bold move.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make bold move on top of bold move.
Yes.
Because you seen some success in the other bold moves, so you had financial or some sort of confidence to do that. Okay, now I have a solid team in place and we can weather the storm. So you're in a position to make those bold moves. I don't think everyone should make these bold moves and be financially bold if they haven't, kind of reduced their risk to where, okay, if I fail, yes, I may lose 10 or 20% of my business revenue, but then we can work back in it and stab at it again, or we can decide to scrap that. Not where you're leveraging 100%.
Well, you actually reminded me of like marketing where you can do like A/B testing.
Correct.
I was like, why didn't we do that?
Sometimes it's
However,
like
that's what it came to my mind. Like, hey, you take a few people, a small group, and you test it while you're still running, so it's not too impactful to the business.
Well, sometimes people, like you talk about, the cash restriction, right? Sometimes people don't have that money to, take a few folks and set them aside and say, hey, test this thing out to see if it works. I actually have a situation that folks can actually relate with. I remember when I was running my business, and so as a founder,
the founder.
You're always thinking about two things: your burn rate and your run rate.
That's
right. Your burn rate is how much you spend in every month, right?
Yep.
And your run rate is how much you got left before you
how
go out
many
of
months
business.
you got until you got to turn off the light.
Exactly. And I remember, one of my investors was like, look, if you're trying to raise money, once you're 6 months out, you're basically going to easily close shop at that point, because it
Wow.
takes a long time to be able
get in
to
the door.
get that money, because there's all this due diligence that you have to do. So I remember at the time we were servicing C2C. So for those of you who don't know, C2C, customer to customer, right? That's kind of like our business model. And then the more research we were doing, we realized that C2C margins is so thin.
Always so thin.
But when you're servicing business, the
Big.
margin is much higher.
are,
yeah.
You don't get as many business, but once you land that one business,
It could take care of
it
a
can
sense.
float you.
Yeah.
couple of like a bunch of customers
Exactly.
worth. Yeah.
So, we was like, okay, you know what? We're going to make that pivot, right? We're going to switch.
All right.
So as part of that switch, obviously as part of the leadership team, we're having a company-wide huddle, and I'm telling folks like, hey, the way we're going, the money that we're making is not sustainable. Obviously, you're not scaring folks, telling them you got 6 months left, but you're trying to, bring that leadership to say, hey, we need to be innovative. And part of the innovation that we need to now adopt is, focusing on business clients, because the margin, with these business clients is much higher.
Right.
So now you're telling folks, what they need to do and how they need to do it. And in their mind, because they don't know you're about to run out of business, they're like, man, I don't want to change what we got going on here. I'm still collecting my paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And one thing about leadership is you have the foresight because you see the full picture.
Yes.
But a true leader doesn't share the full picture because you want to create some level of stability and not panic, right?
Until you have no choice.
Until you have no choice, right? And that was like a struggle for me, right? So in the midst of, doing that, we had to take some money to invest in that B2B, and that money, shrunk our run rate
yes.
from 6 months to 3 months.
Now you see, and you went to go and bring Netflix example.
And you're reassuring your people like, hey, everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And obviously it took long before you start to see the fruits of your investment, but we didn't make it long enough before we started to let people go.
Yeah.
And now people start looking at you like, man, but you said this was the way to go. You said this is what we needed to do. And if you guys have ever fired anybody, that's the worst feeling in the world, when you got to let people go. So I can definitely relate. The financial boldness, sometimes it's important, but in reality, it could be a big risk because it could mess up what you got currently right now. But it takes people with good, sound strategy, with good financial backing, to be able to successfully execute.
I think you're saying, I guess we're only looking at businesses that are in a position where they're just like, I need it. Like, there's still a lot of businesses out there that are like, I'm good. We making money. I'm like, when you're good, that's when you need to plan for.
That's when you need to be
That's right.
innovative.
You can still keep
Blockbuster.
the main thing, but you need to go ahead and shoot off an arm here.
Yeah.
If it falls off, you're good.
Yeah.
Keep the main thing. That's when you need to always shoot off the ground.
Yeah.
So
No. That's true. Bless you. that financial boldness, like we were talking about, it's like, unfortunately, sometimes many of us will be in that scenario as business owners. It's like, you've got to make this pivot or your business is going to
It's
die.
going to die, yep.
Not too many of us are going to be in that scenario where, hey, everything is good. Hey, but we've got to keep being innovative so that we can stay ahead or we can keep being good.
Yes.
I think
Right.
if you get in that situation where you're good, and I know people that are just like, I got a good thing here. I'm not going to change anything. I'm like, change is inevitable.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the only thing. What they say, the only two things are certain in life: change and death. Right?
Well, that may be
taxes too.
well, that may be the time where you need some kind of coach or some
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
advisor
Yeah.
to shake some things up because you might be too comfortable and none of you internally know, like, okay, what's that next pivot? How do I make sure I'm
It becomes difficult
Yeah.
too, because they say, there's two bad things in life, right? Not knowing where the money's going to come from and having a lot of money and waiting for you to run out. Because you don't know what to do with the money. Like, and then that's where the boldness comes out. Because
Yeah.
some people do have money and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But it takes so long to decide what to do. They take a whole year, maybe even longer, that the opportunities are gone.
Yeah.
And then stuff starts to crumble and the money they had are vanished.
quickly.
Yeah. And I know, especially when running a business, anytime you execute anything related to financial boldness, it's always going to impact the company culture, right?
Yeah,
correct.
And, some people are going to be for it, some people are going to be against it. So I want to ask you, Tosin, have you had to exercise financial boldness in your business, and what does that look like?
Definitely. Like I started off saying, these are part of the things that we're doing right now, right? And it's all about leadership, really. It's like you mentioned, how do you sell this thing?
Yes.
To me, leadership is not where, I've got to, beat people into doing what I want, right? It's more about, just like I'm trying to sell to clients out there, I need to sell my vision to the team.
Right.
I need to make sure that, hey, if we're making this pivot, I've got to sell it to them and make sure that they also come on board and understand what I'm trying to do. This morning in our huddle, I was telling them that, hey, you know what? Actually, I've done this before. We've been doing this since 2022. Because in 2022, we had acquired another CPA firm and brought on a new partner, a longtime friend of mine, and he's been running it.
Right.
So he's been pretty independent without, I don't know many of the clients that he's working on and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I use that as like, it might be new to you. It ain't new to us.
Right.
We've been doing this since 2020. This is 2025. All right. We've been running this playbook. All right. Now it's just, we've now tested it. We've now tweaked it. We've made sure it works. And now we want to bring everybody into
Yeah.
that. Right. I just made that up on the spot.
Are you guys watching
Because I was
this?
trying to sell it.
Lacey, Angela.
Now it's old news because I've already done it, right? I say, yeah, we've
They
been
watch
doing
this?
this.
Do they watch this?
Oh, yeah. They do.
but that also makes sense, though. And one thing I've also noticed, because I remember when I first started doing business with you, I used to have to reach out to you personally, but then I saw that it was not scalable because just as much as I was reaching out to you,
Everyone.
I can only imagine everybody else is trying
Yes.
to reach out to you,
Yes.
right? But one of the things I love, and I want to put it out there, sometimes when you're running a business, until you can be hands off, you don't really have a business,
No.
right?
You've got a job.
You're an employee.
You own a job.
Right. And I don't
Employee
blame
with no
people.
benefits.
And I don't blame people for wanting to speak to the person that they have a relationship with, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that Tosin did was, when I would call Tosin would call, he would get somebody else on the line,
yeah.
right? And essentially, it's all three of us that are speaking, right?
I peep
And
game
so
on
what I
that,
started
too.
doing was, I started getting
that's
real
good.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Was it Meg? I started
Yeah.
getting real comfortable with Meg to the point that I don't even want to talk to Tosin anymore.
Yeah, you busy, man.
Because I'm like, I don't want to waste my
That's
time.
how it should be, though.
You know,
You know?
actually, the next level is that now new clients are being closed by these managers. I don't
Right.
close these new clients. So
I mean,
they've
you
never
know-
had that relationship.
Exactly.
But I do come in for consulting.
Right.
I don't
When the
even hit
manager needs,
Hit him up on personal level only.
so when the manager needs me to come in and consult on something,
Yeah.
hey, here's the fee,
Yeah.
the manager's got to pay or the client's got to pay. Somebody got to pay.
Right.
Well,
You know?
let me give you a quick advice. If you want to reach out to him on a personal level,
Don't put it out there.
just come to church. Just come to church.
Oh, okay, that'll work too.
He hits me back.
Just
I
come
hit him
to
back.
church.
I get it. We're
works
both
too.
busy.
I just
He'll
wait till we
usually
get to
be
church.
like, hey, I'm in a meeting. Make it quick. Is it important? Nah, man, what's up? You in a meeting? I'll holler at you later.
Yeah, but that would not have been possible without you empowering your people, right? 'Cause
Yes,
I think
and
sometimes,
having good people.
yeah, well,
Right.
that's,
That is a
that's
key.
the
Yeah, you
foundation.
can't
You have a
can't
lot
make
of
some
good-
of these moves.
Yeah.
Right. No
That's the
matter
fun-
what it is, like
Yeah.
in ours, it's to empower managers.
ask
They've
something.
got to be good.
I gotta ask something. Are there that many good CPAs that, skill wise and all the personality traits out there? Or are you just getting lucky? Or is there a system?
There's a system.
Can you tell us that?
There's a system.
Because I do like his
You know-
his team.
He does something that he doesn't realize, but I'll let
there are a lot of good CPAs out there. I'm part of
I'm
a
saying your
group.
recruitment process.
Oh, our recruitment I mean, there's got to be a good pool for you to have a good recruitment.
So are you shooting? Are you shooting at everyone? They're like,
So
you three stood.
All right, let's
dead.
deviate a little bit. This is what I tell people that come on board and when we interview and hire them. If this is not the right place for you, you will leave.
I've said
So
that too.
I mean, there's kind of like a culture, an atmosphere, that's in our business that if you don't fit in, you'll kind of like just end up leaving. We rarely fire, but we do have turnover.
Well,
Okay.
I have when I was running my business, I was very particular about the type of people that I brought on board because there are two types of people, and you need both. Right person, right, sitting in the right seat, right. So right seat meaning that you have the right skill set. You need two. You need right person meaning that you fit into the culture of the company, right? Mm-hmm. I need a person that have a we can mentality, mm-hmm. right? Not, hey, this is what you hired me for. I'm not doing that, right? That can be very toxic
or
and it
very
could be
negative.
right. And it could be a cancerous to your business, right? And number two, like you need to have the skill set. Right. So once I'm bringing somebody on board, there's specific questions that I'm asking them to make sure that, hey, does this person have the right skills? And then there are specific questions I'm asking to make sure that does this person fit into the culture? Right. Go read Traction.
Yeah.
But, it talks about all those things about how to onboard people. Once you have that foundation, trust me, leading becomes easy. If you can't lead and you bring the right people, you just got to work on your leadership skills.
And pretty much when we bring people on, one, they know what we're all about up front. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they'll know that, hey, Tosin pushes people hard. All right. Possibly even breaks people.
But I noticed that you're getting real soft though.
He acting like he's doing Gladiator. We will hold you.
I mean, no.
All right, babe.
I'm excited when my staff leaves and goes to another CPA firm, and they're like, "Man,
molded.
This place is easy."
Molded by it. But that is.
I've already left the job at 3. I'm like, hey, you know what? Good job. You picked it up properly, and you went on and did some good things.
I think the key words. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's I don't know if he knows it or not, but he's kind of one of my mentors in my industry because, I think I have some of the same aspirations, and we have a couple of different personalities, and I have a couple other friends on the other aspect. But what he says is that the way you can scale, the difference between him and other people scaling while he can do it, and I told him is that one, you have to have the bandwidth, right? Yeah. 2, you have to have the people skills, but people think it's just like, oh, I'm friendly with people and da-da-da. The thing is, he sets expectations, and he said, I'm less forgiving in the sense that I'm more demanding. Like this is a standard, and like it takes a lot of energy as a leader when you're leading your leaders, right? So you're the strategic strategist in your company, right? Right. And you have leaders, and you have managers, then you have operators, right? So he's like, it takes a lot of energy to make sure that they're doing little things right. Yeah. We are not great because we do something great. It's because I am unforgiving about the little things, not in a mean way, but because my expectations are set. No, we got to redo it. No, you need to make sure you do this again. There's that muscle memory begins to happen to where it's like they know if they do this, I'm not going to let it go because we demand this. He's like, yeah, they're going to mess up. I'm not mad, but I'm not like, oh, that's mad. I'm like, no, that does matter. We need to redo it. And so before they get to me, they mess up, they redo it and get to me with it perfect. So I don't have to do that. And that's something that not every entrepreneur has the energy for. He says, I guess that's my superpower because I like it. I like making people better than better.
Yes.
I like molding them.
Like that.
I like molding them. And they go elsewhere and they're like, like you said, I'm better than everybody.
Definitely. In the beginning, when they come in, you've got to be, I tell all my managers when they hire their own staff, like you've got to be really tough and really structured with them. And then once things starts going, once you figured out that they've got the little stuff right.
The foundation is
the foundation is solid. Then you start to let go of that rope a little bit. You let go of that rope and let them kind of wander a little bit.
It takes a lot of, I think, another thing he did, another my friend, he was making all these excuses. I'm like, I was telling him like, hey, you're gonna be successful, but you're not because of these things. He was, oh well, he has funding, he has this, I don't want to sacrifice my family. And I was like, whoa. I was like, like right now you're making excuses and you haven't had a real conversation with yourself. I was like, don't feel bad. I feel like you don't have friends in your circle to tell you you're the problem. Like it takes a lot. He kept going. I was like, you're the problem. And I was like, the same conversation was had with me to where they're like, I was like, you're right. These are my shortcomings. I need to identify my shortcomings. I need to figure out a way out of it. And then I need to go find who can help me get out of it.
That's right.
And when I find a who, I have to check in to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. I think his issue is what I explained to him. He's like, oh, I got this person to do it.
Yeah.
And he just lazy. I'm like, that's lazy management style. And most of us want to do it. To be great, you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And you're not being consistent. I'm like, this person has like 22 offices. You don't have one or two.
Yeah.
He has more time than us.
Yeah. Well,
like, think about that. Like, let that sink in. Like, so if he has more time than you, well, I want this. I'm like, no, he gets up in the morning, does his meetings. He's done by 5:30, goes play pickleball, goes to Sun Sports, goes hang out with the wife and starts back over. He does same 24 hours in a day as you. And he's no more than you.
Yeah.
So you need to not make excuses. You need to do these. He does the same thing every day. Consistent. Like he's dependable. And over time, you see that from when he took over managing it, we went from like, I think 9 locations in like 2 years to like 22 and counting. Wow. And it's like the profitability of those 9 doubled in his stead. And I'm like, that was like 18 months. I was like, he's like, yeah, I figured out my superpower is molding the best out of people.
Right. Well, obviously, we've talked about the fruits of financial boldness in the business, right? And we've defined what financial boldness is. But I want this to be very much valuable and practical for our audience, right? So for you guys, and both of y'all could go, what are, for people that are watching us that want to exercise financial boldness in their business, what are the tools or strategies that they can implement to be able to successfully navigate financial boldness in their business?
I would say probably having an advisor that you can talk to about this plan. Right. We already talked about,
speak, Tosin.
We already talked about like this financial boldness is not like you're just going to do something that just comes off the wall and then just expect it to be good. Right. It's got to be intentional. It's got to be planned for, carefully thought out, and then carefully sold to your team if you have a team. Right. Okay. Because this, at least the version of financial boldness I'm talking about is where you have to make a move.
Yes.
Right. Maybe it's, you are, a restaurant or something and you've got to increase your prices by $2 on each meal. Right. That's a lot.
Yeah.
If you look at the type of people that come into your, what do you call it? The income level of the folks that are coming into you, if you increase it by $2, they will notice.
Yes.
So what can you do?
Yes.
How can you make it be better?
And
maybe the portions can get bigger, but now you have an advisor that can say, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is possibly how we can do it.
Yes. And they're also showing you your blind spot as well to make sure that whatever you're not thinking about, they're letting you know, like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about how it would impact XYZ, right?
I think you always need that external view if you're going to make a move like this.
Yes.
This can't be from the folks that are internal
100.
Trying to do something that is potential. I mean,
or just your friends.
Is it potentially possible? Maybe, but that external perspective from someone that has that experience inside your business and what you're trying to accomplish. Yes.
What about you,
definitely
Alan?
need
What,
it.
what do you think?
I mean, y'all said a lot of things. I think the biggest thing I just heard all over is SWOT analysis. Like you can't be bold.
Tell us a little bit about that SWOT, because
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So
Yes.
strengths, what are you good at?
Yeah.
People don't even know what they're good at. I'm be honest with you.
Yes.
I'm starting to realize that more and more. Like I think I'm better at knowing what. I think that might be my superpower. Knowing what people are good at.
Yes.
Opportunities. Okay, there's an opportunity.
What things are coming up in the future?
Exactly.
Like how Netflix determined that streaming is going to be a thing.
Exactly. Where are your weaknesses? The weakness, okay, we're not good at this. We either need to get somebody that is good at it on our team, or we need to not focus on that.
Got it.
You know,
Mitigate it.
Exactly. And then threats, like,
This
okay,
B school.
what are my competitions doing?
Yeah.
Like, what could
Yes.
happen? What could affect me from the outside,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one. You can't do anything if you don't know where you are, where you've been, where you're going. That's what we said before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you know that, then you have the knowledge, okay, I could take this step over here, and if I slip, I'm just gonna stagger, versus I could take this step over here and it's a hole. Like, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing I would say is stop taking advice from your friends and people who are not doing as well as you, or don't have, it's not even not doing as well as you, is they don't have the vision or discipline to execute.
It's not the area of expertise. You know?
Yeah. So, well, I just say this, right? If you're married, you're not going to talk to your friends out here in the streets. That's what to do, right? Like, you're like, hey, man, you went to the bar last night. So my wife said, you know, and then if you're out here in the streets, you're not going to take street advice from a married person, because he don't even remember
been married
that
for
life.
10 years.
Right. He's like,
Oh, yeah,
so what do you think? Bro, I don't even know. I haven't been out, you know? Like, so it's like this. It's not that they're doing less than you. It's that they don't have the discipline to take their own advice. They might have one idea and that might spark something, but they shouldn't be your go-to for advice and everything. I think a lot of people don't realize, like, dude, you're getting the advice. Look what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not even consistent in just, you know, going to a gym for 3 months, you know, like, or whatever, something simple.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. 2, seek people who have done what you're not a genius. You're not the first person who came up with it. So I'm sorry to break it to you, someone on earth has thought of your same thing or has expertise in it. So if you cannot find an advisor or expert in that field that you can seek, then look up whatever it is, go on Google. I guarantee you see at least 3 hits on it. Start there and then do your research and find out who can help you.
I think at the end of the day, you know, we can all agree that, you know, financial boldness is not recklessness. You know, it's strategic risk that you have to take. And in order for you to successfully execute that, you need to make sure that you have the right advisors, external advisors who are expert in how to navigate what you're about to, you know, do. Number one. Number 2, you need to make sure that you're able to perform the SWOT analysis. And number 3, don't listen to people.
Listen to homies.
Don't listen to the homies, you know.
If they're not qualified.
And if you're able to follow that, then you can successfully navigate that, you know. And, you know, that's our time for today. Hey, make sure you follow me on social media at OneCorizon, KORIZON. Where can they find you, Alan?
Oh, I am ADDS I am ADDS on Instagram, Facebook, all the channels.
Google us, Amatar CPA. You'll see some beautiful people there.
Yeah, and don't forget, man, put in the comment section, man. What financial boldness are you getting ready to take, man? Put it in the comment section and let's talk about it. Until next time, peace.
Peace.